So we're going back today to the year 1981. I am 15 years old. I'm having a lot of problems with the law and alcohol problems, meaning I'm drinking a lot and causing a lot of hell and raising hell. And things weren't going so well in Peoria, Illinois. So my father says, hey, why don't you come live with me down by St. Louis and start over again and, get a fresh start. I'm like, okay. So I believe I started my sophomore year of high school late into the year. But I lived in a town called Venice, Illinois. Population 900. Very much a trip. I had a lot of experiences in Venice, Illinois, which was right next door to East St. Louis, one-time murder capital of the world. A very rough area to grow up in for the time I was there, which wasn't real long. That's another story, though. So while I was living with my father, I made an agreement with him that I would not drink alcohol, and I kept my word. But I still smoked the weed. So anyway, the night comes when I'm going to a concert. There was a lot of concerts down in St. Louis, and my dad, cool enough, luckily, let me go to them. Well, I'm 15 years old, and it's Ozzy Osbourne and the Blizzard of Ozz. And they're playing on tour to support the Blizzard of Ozz tour, right? And Motorhead is the opening act. Wow, right? Double freaking wow. Now, I had only heard about Motorhead by reading about them at this point. So to be honest with you, this was a night that blew my mind in more ways than one. And Motorhead was very heavy. I was already into the Sex Pistols, Plasmatics, Dead Kennedys, but I had never heard anything quite as heavy as Motorhead. And for those of you that are Motorhead bangers, you know Motorhead is one of the heaviest bands in the world. So I had no idea. I get dropped off at the Checkerdome in St. Louis on May 22nd, 1981. I get dropped off. I start walking around the Checkerdome, looking around. I'm way early. I see a tour bus parked by itself and decide, I wonder if this is the tour bus with Ozzy on it. And could it be? So I decided, why not? Brazenly enough, knock, knock. I go up to the tour bus. Again, there's nobody around this thing. A guy opens it. Hey, what's up? What do you need? I'm like, I'm here to see if I can meet Ozzy. I'm a big fan. And he's like, well, Ozzy, blah, blah, blah. And Ozzy's on the bus. Next thing you know, I hear Ozzy talking in his familiar style. And the next thing you know, the guy's in the stairwell talking to me. And he's like, what are you going to, you got something to get signed? And I pulled out my wallet and I had a card. And I had a card that I had from a joke shop. And I didn't know what it said at the time, right? I give it to Ozzy, or the guy gives it to Ozzy, who's sitting right behind the front seat. And the card says, are you stoned or stupid? Well, when Ozzy sees that, he starts laughing his ass off. And he's like, ah, ha, 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 ha. Like probably thinking, this prick has a lot of nerve. But everyone knows Ozzy was really partying a lot at that time in his life. And I got to say, he was looking at me at that point between the seat and the bus, the side of the bus, that little crack there, like about this big. So there's Ozzy looking right at me, talking to me, signing my thing. And it's funny to note that Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath for drug and alcohol use, yet the guys in Black Sabbath were all using drugs and alcohol. So I think it was a matter of Ozzy was just too much, but he was not coming off the bus, guys. I got the autograph. I was quite happy. 15 years old. Ozzy signed my card. I made him laugh. I go into the venue, and I kept my promise to my dad. I did not drink. But the people sitting next to me were smoking opium. And, well, I got my first taste of drugs like that. And I can't say I didn't enjoy it. Whoo! I was in cloud nine. Next thing you know, here comes Motorhead. I'm high as a kite. And we're smoking weed, we're smoking opium. And Motorhead hits the stage. It's the Ace of Spades tour, man. It's their debut in the United States. The Ace of Spades, by the way, being one of their most commercially successful albums they ever did. I think it was the most commercially successful. And they came out on stage, and Motorhead, I went online and found the set list. But they did Ace of Spades was the first song. They went into Stay Clean, Over the Top, Metropolis, The Hammer, Jailbait, Capricorn, Bite the Bullet, The Chase is Better Than the Catch, Overkill, and Bomber. And man, they were heavy. Woo! Like I couldn't comprehend the heaviness, man. It was kind of like the first time you smoke weed. You smoke it, you don't really get stoned. But the second time, poof, you get what it's all about. That's what Motorhead was like. It was like the gateway heavy band for me. And so it blew my mind. There's Lemmy up there on bass and vocals. There's Fast Eddie Clarke on guitar and legendary Filthy Animal Taylor on the drums. The classic legendary lineup of Motorhead. It was badass, man. Blew my mind. Loved every second of it. Here comes Ozzy Osbourne and the Blizzard of Ozz hitting the stage later. Wow, talk about energy. Woo! Ozzy was over the top, running from one side of the stage to the other, doing this whole thing. I love you all! And the whole thing, he's wearing his bright red shirt with the white fringe that's hanging down, man, that he's wearing on the back cover of the Blizzard of Ozz album. Very cool shirt, and that was awesome. And he's running back and forth, and Randy Rhoads is up there just ripping it up. And he wasn't quite known as the legend that he was later after he died and became, a very big-time martyr, and people had time to really soak up and realize how good he was. Just a virtuoso guitarist, man. And don't get me wrong, he was killer that night. It would also, Rudy Sarza was on bass, and Tommy Aldridge on drums. And the legendary Don Airey did the keyboards on that album and the Diary album. He was contracted to play with Rainbow, so he couldn't play either one of those tours. So he wasn't there that night, but they had a guy named Lindsey Bridgewater who played keyboards on the first couple Ozzy tours. And wow, what a hell of a show was that, Ozzy Osbourne. They hit the stage doing I Don't Know, Crazy Train, Into Believer, Mr. Crowley, and then, crazily enough, they did Flying High Again, which was on the next album, Diary of a Madman. Then Ozzy and the Blizzard of Ozz went right into Revelation, Mother Earth, Steal Away the Night. Then Tommy Aldridge did a drum solo. Suicide Solution was next, and then a Randy Rhoads guitar solo. Into Iron Man, which was a Sabbath classic, and Children of the Grave. Then Ozzy and company came out and did an encore of Paranoid by Sabbath. It was one killer concert. I was one really stoned teenager, but I did not drink that wicked alcohol. And I'm only being mildly sarcastic, guys. And I got to tell you, in other parts of that tour, Ozzy had Joe Perry Project, Mountain, and the Outlaws as his opening act. But I'm glad I got to see Motorhead open up for Ozzy because that changed my life. I saw Motorhead probably 9 or 10 times in my life after that. Probably each and every one a different story, and I got to meet Lemmy at the House of Blues many years later in Chicago. My friends, please give my channel a like and leave me a comment because I do comment back to everybody. Also, subscribe if you would. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll be back in a couple days with another good story or two, including 20 questions with Bloody F Mess, as written by Sister Tracy. In the meantime, keep rocking, stay real, and stay clean. Cheers.